I was dating a gold digger I met in a game, on the night before we were supposed to meet in real life. I accidentally overheard her telling her best friend, "How could I ever be into a broke loser like him? Meet in real life? No way I'm going. Can any of you go for me, and get rid of him?" I stayed silent. The next day, I still showed up at the agreed place, and hugged the beautiful woman in front of me, but what I didn't expect was that she looked at me shyly, and didn't push me away. That night, the gold digger called me. Her tone cheerful. "Anna. Is it done?" Anna straddled my lap, her voice trembling as she said, "It's done." Chapter 01. I came to meet Willow in real life. She panicked, hurriedly making excuses that she was busy lately. Until that night, I went invisible and entered the voice chat room where we played games. She said, "Georange. I'm just fooling around with him. He's from some tiny county town. How could I possibly take him seriously?" My heart tightened. Willow's tone was still that same arrogant one as she continued. "Why play with him? For novelty, obviously. I've never dated this kind of pathetic broke loser before." Her best friend laughed. "But he already came to see you," Willow replied. "Ugh, so annoying." Despite her words, Willow's tone was full of concealed smugness, as if this proved her own charm. A female voice said, "Willow, you should at least meet him once. Yeah, he's already here. Even if you aren't into him, tell him clearly in person." It sounded like her friends were more decent than she was, but Willow immediately refused. "Meet him? No way. I'm afraid it'll hurt my eyes." Someone asked, "What do you mean? Is he really that ugly?" Willow gave a cold snort. "He didn't even dare exchange photos with me. He's probably some fat shut-in nerd." Then Willow added, "By the way, which one of you is free tomorrow? Go in my place." Someone hesitated. "That's not really okay," Willow said. "It's fine. He doesn't know what I look like anyway. Just get rid of him casually." I thought no one would respond. Suddenly, a female voice broke the silence. "I'll go." Chapter 02. Willow was stunned on the spot. Her voice suddenly became cautious. She said, "Anna. I don't want to trouble you," the other side replied. "It's no trouble. I happen to be free tomorrow." The one called Anna had a cool, clear voice, her tone calm. It felt like an electric current ran through my mind. To be blunt, her voice was beautiful enough to make me dizzy. I glanced at her ID. Anna. That was her real name. Back when Willow and I played games, her best friends would occasionally join the spectator seat. Anna was one of them. For someone like Willow, who usually acted like a spoiled princess, she was unusually polite to Anna. It was strange. I didn't have a strong impression of Anna because she rarely spoke. So why did she volunteer suddenly? Confused, I left the room. After thinking for a moment, I sent Willow a message. I wrote, "Looking forward to meeting tomorrow." Half an hour later, she replied perfunctorily, Same." I smiled faintly and didn't comment. Chapter 03. I arrived at the meeting place as planned. At the entrance of the restaurant, a girl immediately caught my attention. She was tall, with a cool and elegant look. Standing in the crowd, she was strikingly outstanding. I walked up to her and said, "Are you Willow?" She froze for a moment, staring at me in mild astonishment. She said, "You're Georange." I smiled. "Yes." I nodded at her and said, "You're even more beautiful than I imagined." She replied, "You also." She paused briefly, then said tactfully, "You're different from what I thought." I asked, "Different how?" She didn't answer, but I knew the reason. Because of what Willow had said. She had already assumed I was a pathetic broke loser, some fat shut-in nerd. Today, I had come purposely to get back at Willow. Looking at Anna standing in front of me, I felt not only that I wasn't losing out, I felt like I was gaining. I gathered my courage and gently took her hand. I said, "Come on, let's go eat." Anna's body stiffened slightly, her gaze sinking deeply into mine. Chapter 04. Anna was very considerate. She kept asking if I was tired from the long trip, whether I was having trouble adjusting to the environment. We had many common topics, talking and talking. We forgot about time. It was already past 10 at night. I was about to return to the hotel. Standing at the entrance, she looked hesitant. She had come today with a mission, to help Willow get rid of me. She said, "Georange." I said, "Just call me George, my real name." She said, "Okay." "George, I need to tell you something," but I interrupted her. "Wait." I walked with her into the convenience store next to the hotel. It was my first time doing something like this, and I felt slightly embarrassed. Stealing myself, I picked up a box of condoms from the counter. I said, "I'll take this." Anna blinked in surprise. I asked, "You'll stay with me tonight, right?" Anna looked up at me. Her tone wavered slightly as she asked, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." Without hesitation, I registered the payment with face recognition. Chapter 05. When I kissed Anna, she was like a rising tide beneath a calm surface, reserved at first, restrained and still, but when I released her and sighed, "You don't want to, then I'll go." I barely stepped back before she suddenly hooked her arms around my neck, clinging tightly as if afraid I'd leave, kissing me back intensely. Her restraint collapsed, the floodgates opened, and the surge of emotion was unstoppable. We kissed all the way from the elevator to the door of the room. Inside, I forced a shred of rationality back and asked quietly, "For the last time, I'm giving you a chance to change your mind." She pressed her lips together without speaking, but her rapid breathing betrayed her answer. Anna stepped on the hem of her dress, pushed me down onto the sofa, and then straddled my lap. That was her reply. Anna was gentle yet uninhibited. When she called my name, her voice was far more tender than usual. I was completely immersed, unable to pull myself out. As we pressed close together, her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen, and her eyes dimmed. She declined the call. I asked, "Who was it?" She said, "A classmate." After a while, the phone rang again. 3 times in a row. Anna had no choice but to pick up. A voice said, "Hey, Anna, why weren't you answering? You scared me, I thought you." Willow's voice came through the speaker, crystal clear in the quiet room. I acted as if I hadn't heard anything, lifting Anna again in the midst of our intimacy. Anna tried to steady her breathing and said, "I'm busy." Wasn't that the truth? On the other end, Willow said, Anna, I just wanted to ask, did you get rid of him?" Anna looked at me with those beautiful eyes and said softly, "Yeah, he's gone." Chapter 06. I didn't plan to hide it from Anna for long. The next morning, when we indulged ourselves one last time, I deliberately called her by her real name. Anna froze for a moment. She said, "How did you know?" I smiled and said, "I actually knew, a long time ago." Her teeth bit down on my shoulder, a little frustrated, yet reluctant to bite too hard. Afterward, Anna told me, she hadn't slept all night, worried about how to bring it up. I asked the biggest question in my heart. Why did you volunteer to go on that date in Willow's place? At this moment, Anna was already dressed. She said, "I've eaten those snacks and specialties you sent her. They were really good. I just felt, a guy like you, even after breaking up, deserves at least some respect." I used to send Willow things often, snacks, pastries, and local specialties. Most likely, Willow didn't even look at them, and simply tossed them to others. I sighed and said, "Then you should know." I added with a hint of guilt, "I came to meet you to get back at Willow." She gave a soft snort. "I figured," I said. "I originally planned to exaggerate what happened last night and tell Willow, just to make you two fight like scumbags." She asked, "And now?" I said, "But now I've realized she's the scumbag, and you actually seem like a decent human being." She smiled, a glimmer flickering in her eyes. She said, "So your opinion of me isn't bad?" I said, "All in all, the conflict between me and Willow shouldn't drag you into it." Anna tilted her head and said, "George, can we talk about something?" I asked. "Go ahead," she said. "Starting today, do you want to try liking me?" Chapter 07. Anna's words caught me off guard. Even after she left, I was still somewhat dazed. She was very different from Willow. No complicated mind games. No beating around the bush. If she liked something, she said it directly. If she didn't, she wouldn't hide it. She basically spoke exactly what she thought. On Willow's side, she had already deleted me. She thought Anna had completed the mission, so she deleted me without hesitation. Little did she know, Anna secretly added me herself. Half a month later, I arrived at Willow's University to register. I originally studied in City C, to meet Willow in real life. I had specifically fought for this exchange student slot. Now, school still had to go on, but Willow and I had nothing to do with each other anymore. I finished the paperwork, and a senior student led me around the campus. Passing by the honor board beside the cafeteria, I saw a strikingly flamboyant photo. Willow's makeup was heavy, her curls slightly tousled, the corners of her lips raised just enough, radiating a bold, seductive confidence. The senior frowned and said, "That's Willow, our school's well-known social butterfly. Just because she dated a rich kid once, she acts like everyone's beneath her. You'd better not provoke her." I asked in confusion. "She could make it onto the honor board. Is she good at studying?" The senior shrugged. "No," he said as if it were nothing new. The counselor kissed up to her and arranged it. I scratched my head and asked, "What about this one?" Next to Willow's photo was Anna. The senior said, "Anna is the real academic genius, but she's even harder to deal with than Willow." I asked, "What do you mean?" The senior shushed me, lowered his voice mysteriously, and said, "I heard she's like a real rich heiress. Even Willow bows her head around her." Suddenly, it all made sense. Fake rich girls always fear real heiresses. In the photo, Anna's face suddenly felt more distant. I treated the senior to a meal. And when we parked under the dorm building afterward, a girl walked toward us. Her figure was graceful. Her makeup exquisite. Her walk full of swaying charm. The senior nudged me with his elbow. That's Willow. Willow was on the phone. She said, Anna, have you eaten yet? I'll bring something back for you. I'm at. She suddenly saw me and froze. Her almond-shaped eyes widened. For a moment, I wondered if she had recognized me, but in the next second, she let out a scream. Girl, guess what? I just saw a super handsome guy. Crazy rich, driving a luxury car, super handsome. Chapter 08. Willow had always been flamboyant. She didn't hold back at all. Her voice was so loud that the surrounding students all turned to look at me. Even someone as shameless as me felt unbearably embarrassed. After that, Willow kept tailing me, asking all sorts of questions. Hi there, classmate. What's your name? Where are you from? You're not from City C, right? She said. What's your major? My name's Willow. I was speechless. I had zero interest in responding to this idiot. How did I ever like her in the first place? She noticed the name on my suitcase. She said, George, that sounds really unique. I kept my face cold and said nothing. Back when we had our online relationship, I used the name George. Willow had never known my real name. Before leaving, she asked if she could take a picture with my car. I refused immediately. She said, then can I add you on WeChat? I looked at her, suddenly finding it hilarious. I said, sure. Seeing me agree, Willow lit up with excitement. She scanned my QR code. On her screen, my nickname and avatar popped up. George. Willow froze. Chapter 09. She just stood there, stunned, her mouth slightly open, completely shocked. She said, why you're George. I nodded. Yeah. She stammered. I'm. She couldn't form a sentence. I deliberately glanced at her profile info. I frowned and said, isn't this my ex-girlfriend's WeChat? Willow pressed her lips together. Silent. I said, did you steal my ex's phone? She said, no. I asked, did you hack my ex's WeChat account? She said, not that either. Willow looked like she was dying of embarrassment. She had no idea how to explain. She finally said, I'm sorry. I'll tell you the truth. I am your ex. I laughed. Don't talk nonsense. I've met my ex, she quickly said. The girl who met you that day was a friend of mine. I had something come up at the last minute, so I couldn't go. I asked her to go in my place. The guilty look on her face was honestly hilarious. She added several details, trying hard to prove her identity. Then she cautiously asked, do you believe me now? I frowned and said, if what you're saying is true, then you're a scammer. You tricked me into meeting someone else. She panicked. No, it's not like that. The more she explained, the worse it got. Willow was desperate. She said, you came from so far away. I felt bad standing you up, so I had no choice but to think of that solution. I said with a smile. So thoughtful of you. How come you turned around and dumped me then? She said, I thought we'd always be long distance, and I didn't want to hold you back. So, I stared at her, keeping a faint smile. She, however, couldn't smile at all. Her face gradually turned pale from guilt. She said, George, no. George, if you don't believe me, I can ask that friend to explain to you personally. I replied. No need for that. She said. Then I'll add you back. I replied. No need to add me either. I smiled brightly at her. I have a rule. I never go back to what I've already left behind. Chapter 10. After I rejected her, Willow kept looking for new opportunities. She even tried to win over my roommate. It was the weekend. My roommate Makoto asked me to go to a shooting experience range. As soon as I entered the place, I saw a familiar figure. Willow was wearing an off-shoulder mini dress and waving at me enthusiastically. I turned around and was ready to leave. Makoto grabbed me and said, George, don't go yet. I shot him a cold look. Never seen someone sell out their own roommate like this. Makoto quickly explained. No, Willow and I are close. Just do me this favor. Okay. Today's expenses are all on me. Will that work? Seeing the flattering expression on Makoto's face, I silently decided to keep my distance from him from now on. Willow walked up to me. She said, George, my best friend came too. She wants to clear things up with you. I asked in confusion. Clear what up? She said. She should be here soon. Before I could say anything else, Willow waved toward someone behind me. I turned around, and my eyes met Anna's. We exchanged a silent look. Willow said, she's my best friend, Anna. You met her that day. More than met her, I asked. What exactly are you trying to clarify? Willow said. That day, because something urgent came up. I really couldn't make it. So I asked Anna to go in my place. Right, Anna. Willow blinked at Anna, hinting hard, but Anna didn't speak. Her silence instantly made the atmosphere awkward. Willow kept signaling her while trying to smooth things over. Anna doesn't talk much. Silence means she agrees. Makoto echoed quickly. I can confirm that. Anna really doesn't like to talk. I laughed. She doesn't like to talk, I said, rubbing my chin. Then she probably didn't tell you that on that night. She and I deliberately left a hook. Stopping mid-sentence. Willow and Makoto's expressions instantly turned panicked. Chapter 11. But, wait. Willow panicking. That I can understand. But why is Makoto panicking? What does this have to do with him? Makoto asked. You and her, what happened? He was even more nervous than Willow, staring anxiously at Anna. I understood. He has a crush on Anna, I said. I just had a meal with her and we had a pleasant chat, that's all. Makoto turned his head and asked. Is that true, Anna? Anna glanced at me, pressed her lips and said. George said everything correctly. Both of them let out a breath of relief at the same time. Seriously, has no one noticed the obvious couple-like harmony between us? Makoto suddenly realized. No wonder. That night I sent Anna 3 messages and she didn't reply. Willow said you went to meet someone from the internet. I was afraid you'd run into some creep, almost called the police. Makoto pulled Anna forward, deliberately leaving space for Willow and me. His clumsy little act was almost laughable. I told Willow, you should be with Makoto. You two are pretty compatible, she said. Don't talk nonsense. I'm not even that close to him, I replied. But Makoto doesn't think that way. She asked, what do you mean? I smiled without explaining. Willow built herself a socialite persona, making friends with all kinds of rich young heirs and heiresses. Makoto wants to fit into that circle of hers too. Seeing him rushing around today, he really thinks he's already part of that world. I said, it's nothing. Willow, let me make it clear again, no matter how much you try to show affection, I have no interest in you. She asked, why? There has to be a reason, right? Weren't we getting along pretty well when we were dating online? I replied, because you're not presentable. Willow froze on the spot. I walked into the private room, planning to vent my frustration a bit, but when I opened the door, I found Anna already practicing shooting targets. She looked like she had never handled a gun before, completely clueless. After missing the target several times in a row and just when she was about to give up, I walked over, reached out, and covered her right hand, supporting the gun for her. I said, like this. Chapter 12. She turned her head in surprise, giving me a slightly annoyed look. Why are you only coming now? I laughed. I should be the one asking. Shouldn't I? Why are you here? Shouldn't you be with Makoto? She let out a cold snort. Don't mention him. I finally managed to shake Makoto off. Just let me have some peace here, I asked. You don't like him? She replied. What are you talking about? I've never liked him. She paused, probably afraid I'd misunderstand. She took the initiative to explain. I've rejected him clearly before, but he and Willow are very similar. Rejecting them a few times doesn't work. I nodded. Got it. With my guidance, Anna finally managed to hit the target. She was just getting excited when she suddenly turned to ask me, why didn't you tell them the truth earlier? I thought for a moment and said, I didn't want to see you fall out with Willow. Recently, I've gradually figured out a few things. Willow may be a jerk when it comes to relationships, but she's well liked. If Anna is willing to be her friend, she must have her reasons. Besides that, there's another reason, I said. If this gets around, it won't be good for your reputation. But Anna said, I don't really care about that. She glanced at me, then corrected herself. But you're right. Better keep it from them for now. I'm worried people will talk behind her back. She's worried people will talk behind mine. I asked, another round? She said, sure. I guided Anna again. My left hand rested on her waist, while my right hand pulled the trigger together with hers. It looked exactly like I was holding her in my arms. Just as the bullet hit the bullseye, a voice sounded from outside. Anna, are you in there? Makoto said he can't find you, and Willow conveniently pushed the door open. Chapter 13. There was a prep table in front of us. By the time Willow entered, Anna and I had already stepped apart. You're both here, Willow said. She looked slightly surprised, her gaze sweeping over us. Anna replied softly. George was teaching me some shooting basics, Willow said. Makoto's pretty good at shooting too. You could let him teach you, Anna answered. Stop trying to match us up. I don't like him. How many times do I have to say it? Her tone didn't change at all, calm, light, yet somehow it carried pressure. Makoto, who overheard, turned pale. Willow's smile also faded. In a cold tone, she said, Then you're letting George teach you because you like him, is that it? That question landed like thunder in a clear sky, sudden, explosive, and met with complete silence. Before Anna could respond, Willow laughed again. Just kidding, I said. That wasn't funny. Willow pressed her lips together. It really wasn't. She tucked her hair behind her ear and added, I regret asking Anna to meet you in my place. Otherwise George would be the one teaching me to shoot. And whose fault is that? I asked with a smile. Willow's eyes were big, her eye bags forming soft crescents. When she got emotional, those crescents would turn slightly red. Right now, she was still smiling, but the redness was obvious. Willow asked, by the way, Anna, what kind of guys do you like? Anna said, someone who looks honest but, when something happens, is actually very decisive. Willow said, sounds like you're talking about a specific person, Anna replied. Does it? Maybe. Something subtle, an undercurrent, seemed to flow between us. Willow didn't notice it. Behind the prep table, Anna and I had been holding hands tightly, never letting go. Chapter 14. After we returned to campus, Makoto sighed for several days straight. He'd been rejected by Anna yet again. One night, he asked me, George, why don't you get together with Willow? I said, because I don't like her. He asked, don't tell me you're playing hard to get. I was speechless. Looking at him felt like looking at someone who had lost his mind. He said, Willow's such a great girl, pretty and with a good personality. Where are you going to find someone like her? I replied, pretty. Didn't notice. Makoto said helplessly. Stop pretending. Willow's past relationships never lasted more than a month. If a guy isn't a rich heir, she won't even look at him. Yet she's chasing after you on her own. Means she really likes you. You should feel lucky. I laughed. Dating rich heirs but never lasting more than a month, that just means she keeps getting short-term selected. What's there to brag about? You. Makoto clenched his teeth. You broke, delusional loser. You don't know how good you've got it. I said. Makoto, do you know what you sound like right now? He asked. What? I said. You're like one of those simp eunuchs in TV dramas who follow behind the emperor. If the emperor farts, you treat it like an imperial decree. Makoto nearly exploded. He launched a barrage of insults at me. I let them all go in one ear and out the other. In the end, I only said one thing to him. A piece of advice. Don't force yourself into a circle you'll never fit into. Chapter 15. A crack had formed in Willow and Anna's relationship. They still hung out together, but it felt more like fake sister friendship than anything real. I played mobile games in my free time, and that was how I originally got to know Willow. During the May Day holiday, the game company hosted an offline event in City C. Our whole dorm decided to go. Makoto wasn't interested at first, but the moment he heard everyone was going, he insisted on joining the fun. By coincidence, we ran into Willow and Anna at the event. There were tons of people there. We wanted to grab lunch, but every restaurant nearby was completely packed. Not a single empty table. That's when Makoto spotted them. He said, Willow, Anna, what a coincidence, you two came to play too. Their table wasn't full. Makoto cheerfully suggested, why don't we share a table? 8 people total, perfect. With a dramatic flourish, he declared in front of a group of rich second-generation kids. Lunch is on me today. Willow happily agreed. Sure, let's sit together. My phone buzzed. A message. Anna, did you see the bunny girl cosplay? I glanced across the table at her. Her eyes were lowered, her expression cool and distant. Recently, we had been chatting on WeChat every day. We talked about everything, from our majors to games. There was nothing we couldn't keep a conversation going about. Finding someone who truly gets you felt amazing. I replied, yeah, I saw it. Why? Anna, do you like it? Me, of course. Bunny Girl is my favorite character. Anna, I want to try cosplay too. Me, you're going to cosplay Bunny Girl. Anna, do you think I could pull it off? Of course you can. Show me when it's done. Anna, I'll show only you. My heart tingled, soft, electric, like a current running through me. I didn't even have time to process the feeling when Makoto suddenly leaned over. George, who are you texting? Chapter 16. I immediately flipped my phone face down. I said, don't look at my phone without permission. Makoto said speechlessly. Seriously, we're bros. You were smiling like an idiot. What's wrong with sharing? I asked. Was I smiling? He said. Yeah. Others chimed in too. Someone said, your grin was practically reaching your ears. Watching funny videos. Share with us. I didn't even realize I had smiled unconsciously. I glanced at Anna. There was a faint smile in her eyes too. A few people created a group chat on the spot. I had no choice but to dump all my meme pics into it. After a while, the topic shifted. A girl asked, by the way, Anna, didn't you say you liked someone? Anna nodded. Another girl said. That's rare. Anna actually has feelings for someone. Makoto panicked again and asked, who? Is it someone I know? Anna said. I can't tell you for now. Someone else asked. Is he from our school? Anna replied. I don't want to say. Anna had a tight mouth. If she didn't want to talk, you could question her to death and she still wouldn't answer. Makoto instantly deflated like a punctured balloon. He couldn't even eat. Suddenly, Willow spoke. Anna, tell us, we can help you gather intel. Anna replied. No need, I'm the one doing the pursuing. The moment she said that, everyone stared at her in shock. Someone said, stunned. You're actively chasing him. Another person added. But guys are always the ones chasing you. Anna pressed her lips together. It's rare to meet someone I really like. Of course I have to take the initiative. A girl asked. How are you taking the initiative? Share. Anna thought for a moment and said. By doing a cosplay for him. Chapter 17. I almost sprayed my tea all over the table. Anna didn't notice the double meaning in her words at all. Everyone else, however, went straight to the wrong idea. Someone teased. So your relationship is already at the cosplay stage? Another joked. My bad. I was worried Anna wouldn't know how to flirt, but clearly she knows too well. Anna frowned. Get rid of the dirty garbage in your brains. The table instantly fell silent. Beside me, Makoto could barely sit still. He had fully, completely, absolutely lost his love. He hadn't been himself since earlier. Everyone in the clique knew he liked Anna, but right now, no one cared about his feelings. The rich heirs he considered friends didn't even look at him. Midway through the meal, the conversation returned to Anna. Someone said, Anna, you can't be the only one putting in effort. His attitude matters too, she said. He gave me a necklace. As she spoke, she lifted the necklace from her collar. What? A guy stared wide-eyed. Isn't that this year's E-brand limited edition? Over 100,000 each. Your ambiguous guy bought that for you. No wonder, there was only one in all of City C. My girlfriend wanted it, but the brand said it was sold. I was wondering which clueless idiot bought it. I mean, my bad. Another guy chimed in. My girlfriend sent me a picture too, a girl said. It's really pretty. A pink diamond set on the moon. Since it's limited edition, the price is like adding another zero to the regular line. I felt uncomfortable. I bought that last week. Anna hadn't wanted to accept it at first. I told her. I bought one for every female relative at home. There's a spare, just wear it for fun. Only then did she take it, half believing me. And then, my usually not so bright roommate had a sudden flash of genius. He said, wait, pink diamond on the moon. I wanted to cover his mouth, but it was too late. He said, George, show them the one you bought. Chapter 18. He continued loudly. Our George also bought that necklace. But definitely not that exact one. I said awkwardly, I didn't bring it today. Makoto jumped in immediately. Didn't you take pictures? George, show these damn rich kids the power of Iwu knockoffs. The good news, my roommate didn't realize I bought it for Anna. The bad news, the moment they saw it, everyone would know. All eyes turned to me, especially Willow. Her smile was gone, and her lips were pale from pressing together. Anna shot me a reproachful yet protective glance. She stepped in smoothly. Forget it. Don't look. If a 100 yuan Iwu necklace looks as good as his 100,000 won, I'd be too devastated. Her joke lightly brushed off the whole topic. No one brought up the necklace again until we returned to campus that afternoon. After we got back, I had to go to a teacher's office. My roommates went back to the dorm first. When I came out of the office, I saw Willow. She was standing alone in a shadowy corner of the hallway, without her usual bright smile, looking almost gloomy. She said, George, I was waiting for you. I asked. You need something? She said, yeah. Willow looked straight into my eyes. She asked, you've already given the necklace away, haven't you? At this point, there was nothing left to hide. I nodded. I gave it to Anna. She pressed her lips together. When did you two start? I said. For several months now, she said. Several months meaning? I replied. From the day we first met. Willow's pupils contracted. Her hand clenched tightly, trembling slightly. I curved my lips into a smile and said, angry, want to slap me right now? Then I added, but Willow, you were the one who personally pushed her toward me. Chapter 19. In truth, Willow had long sensed something, but hearing it from my own mouth was completely different from her private suspicions. As I spoke, the color slowly drained from Willow's face. I said, why did you start an online relationship with me? Because you'd never dated someone as poor and naive as me. Why did you refuse to meet offline? Because I'm from a small county town, must be some broke, pathetic loser who doesn't deserve you. And why did you send someone else to meet me? Because you wanted someone to get rid of me for you. Willow burst out. Anna told you that. I replied. No, I heard it myself. I took out my phone and opened the game's back-end chat logs. I said. The night before we were supposed to meet, I went invisible in the voice room. I wanted to surprise you, tell you I'd transferred to your school so we wouldn't be long distance anymore. I didn't expect you to surprise me first. Willow turned completely pale. She couldn't refute a single word. I continued. You should actually thank Anna. She never said a single bad thing about you, not once. Her voice was hoarse. I'm sorry, George. I apologize for what I said. Her eyes turned red at the corners. Her sincerity was more than I expected. She said, I really was frivolous before, but please, believe me, I'm serious now. I really want to date you properly. For the sake of the time we spent as a CP in that online relationship, can you give me another chance? I said. Then let me ask you a few questions. She nodded. Ask, I said. On Valentine's Day, what did I send you? Willow froze for a moment. A bouquet of flowers. I asked, and what else? She hesitated. Makeup. I shook my head and cut her off. No, it was a ring I polished by hand. Willow blinked in shock. I said. And what about the other gifts I sent you again and again? She stammered. I sent them home. I didn't really pay attention. I said. Don't speak. Let me guess. You thought the gifts I sent were all cheap, so you didn't bother to look at them. You tossed them to your girlfriends, or maybe straight into the trash, right? My tone was calm. Too calm, I said. Judging from your expression, Willow, I guessed right. You want to know how I knew? I didn't wait for her answer, because Makoto still had the box for the Ledra chocolates I sent you sitting on his desk. I remembered exactly how he looked that day. He had his legs propped up on the table, his heel pressing right on the box. He said, This? Willow was gonna throw it out, so I asked for it. These chocolates taste pretty good. You know this brand. Where do they sell it? I gave a bitter smile. It had once been a piece of my genuine affection, even though I no longer liked Willow. Seeing my sincerity treated that way still disappointed me. I swallowed the lingering sadness and looked at Willow coldly. So, Willow, I said. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Chapter 20. That night, one piece of news blew up the entire campus. Every dorm group chat was exploding. Willow and Anna had gotten into a fight, both sent to the hospital. Someone asked, what happened? Weren't they really close? Rumors were flying everywhere. I didn't care about any of that. I rushed straight to the hospital. Makoto had already given up on Anna, so when he saw the news, he only gritted his teeth and suppressed his curiosity. But what I didn't know was, after I left the dorm, Makoto sent Willow a message. He went to the hospital. Willow, lying in a hospital room, received that message and grew anxious. She still held onto a tiny sliver of hope, a hope that I was coming to see her, because back when we were dating online, she once told me, she was actually terrified of pain. As a child, whenever her father got angry, he would come home and beat her with a belt. Willow still had faint scars on her body even today. Since then, violence had become her lifelong shadow, and with Anna, this was the first time it had ever happened. This afternoon, after returning to the dorm, Willow confronted Anna, grabbing her sleeve. Anna only replied, You're the one who personally pushed me toward George. I had said the same words. That kind of tacit understanding between Anna and me only enraged Willow further. Anna added, You have no right to question me now. What are you, his ex? In her fury, Willow suddenly remembered what I had once asked her. She said, Anna, tell me the truth. That night, did you two only have dinner? Anna didn't answer. Without my permission, she wouldn't respond to that question, but her silence said everything. Willow bit her lip. How far did you go? Did you hold hands? Kiss? Her voice trembled. Did you sleep together? Anna remained silent, but her eyes did not avoid Willow's. Not even for a second. Willow understood that look. You bitch. In a burst of rage, she slapped Anna, but Anna was no pushover. Quiet and reserved. Yes, but she had a temper too. In the end, Willow ended up more injured than Anna. Now, in the hospital room, Willow paced nervously. What should she say when George walks in? Should she sincerely apologize? Act pitiful? George knows she's afraid of pain. He'll definitely feel sorry for her. Right. Right. Willow waited, and waited. An hour passed. No one came. She opened the door and asked the nurse, Has a tall boy come by? Like this tall? The nurse glanced at the visitor log and asked, Last name Wang. Then she said, He went to the room next door. Next door was Anna's room. Chapter 21. I arrived at the hospital and headed straight to Anna's room. Luckily, her injuries weren't too serious. I let out a breath of relief. I said, I heard you were hospitalized. I got scared for a second. I thought maybe. Anna let out a soft laugh. You thought she would lose control like in some dramatic novel and stab me with a knife. I sighed. No one can say for sure, she said. Relax. She's not a kid anymore. I frowned. Willow's personality is no different from a child's. Anna asked. Have you gone to see her? I shrugged. No, she said. And you came to see me first? Yeah. A genuine smile spread across her face. She said, great. I finally didn't miss it this time. I asked. What do you mean? Anna let out a soft hum. Georange. I'm bad at this problem. Teach me. My eyes widened instantly. Wait, she said. It's me. There was laughter in Anna's eyes. Some fragments of memory suddenly resurfaced. Before I met Willow, I had registered an account on a knowledge-sharing forum. My username was Georange. The profile picture was the dog my parents raised. One day, I came across a post. The original poster, Anita, had posted a higher math question, saying she couldn't solve it. This was my specialty. I scribbled down the solution steps on paper, snapped a photo, and uploaded it. That user named Anita immediately followed me, and she often sent me messages afterward, sometimes to ask questions, sometimes just to share books she had read. Later, life got busy, and I stopped logging in. Naturally, the connection with that online friend faded. Later still, I met Willow in a game, and then I met Anna. I asked, "You're that Anita?" She said, Strictly speaking, I actually met you earlier than Willow did." I asked, "Then why didn't you tell me?" She said, "When Willow introduced you to us, you were already her boyfriend." From Anna's perspective, this memory was completely different. Back on the forum, she had admired me like some kind of genius and wanted to meet me offline. She knew which school I attended, but not my major or my name. When she finally gathered the courage to ask to meet in person, I stopped logging in. She was disappointed for quite a while. 4 months later, Willow played a game with a user named Georange. She saw the ID and the avatar and froze. Willow said, "He's my boyfriend. We just got together." At first, Anna only suspected it. How could it be such a coincidence? The same ID, the same avatar. Later, I accidentally mentioned my school, deepening her suspicion. To confirm it, Anna once put a higher math question in the public chat. Willow complained, "Even in-game I have to see math. Anna, why don't you just kill me?" But I sent the solution. Only then did Anna fully confirm my identity. But it was already too late. She watched me and Willow fall in love online, saying nothing. She couldn't say anything. She waited a long time, and finally, her chance came. Willow said she didn't want to meet in person. That day, Anna turned on her microphone. After listening to her story, I finally understood. So you're a sapiosexual. Chapter 22. After talking everything out with Anna, we naturally ended up together. She said, "So that means, from now on, you're my boyfriend?" "Yes," she asked. "Willow has no chance anymore?" I nodded. "No." Anna hooked her arms around my neck and kissed me fiercely. I said, "Wait, this is still a hospital." She pouted. "When was the last time you kissed me?" I said, "Half a year ago, when we first met." She complained. "It's been half a year. Every time I see you I want to kiss you. I've suffered so much." I said, "You're exaggerating. It's only been half a year." She said, "You don't get it." She pressed her lips together. "I's seductive as silk. Once you've tasted sweetness, you crave more." Anna was just too beautiful. Her moist eyes looked as if they could pull me right in. Just then, the ward door was pushed open. "What are you two doing?" Willow asked with difficulty. Don't get the wrong idea. I was only looking into Anna's eyes, just from a close distance. There's no way we'd actually do anything in a hospital room. Anna was still injured. I said, "Can't you see? I came to visit my girlfriend." She asked, "Girlfriend?" I shrugged. "Yeah, we just got together about a minute before you came in." Willow's hand was still on the doorknob, but it was already trembling. She said, "So I'm just one step too late." I shook my head. "You already cut in line once." Turns out cutting in line doesn't help. Willow didn't understand my deeper meaning. She couldn't care about it anyway. "George, say it," she said. "Do you really not care about me at all?" "I'm hurt worse than she is. I'm in so much pain." I said. "The doctors will heal you," she said. "But that's not what you used to say." Her eyes were completely red, tears gathering at the corners. She choked. "You said your heart ached for my childhood, that you'd stay with me and help me heal that pain." I replied. "I did," I said. "I really tried. No matter the outcome. I really did try." During the time Willow and I dated online, I was serious, invested. I pitied her because of the childhood she told me about. But she opened her heart to me only to make me more hopelessly attached. A flirtatious person is always hurt by her own games. Now, I have to move forward. Chapter 23. I spent 1 year as an exchange student at University C. Then I had to return to City B for my studies at University B. Coincidentally, Anna was from City B as well. A year later, after she graduated, she also returned to City B. We stayed together all the way through. Willow never came back to school afterward. She went abroad. I didn't know until the day she left. She said that now, she genuinely liked me, that she hadn't been lying. Even Willow had a day when she couldn't let someone go, and because she couldn't let go, the only thing she could do was escape overseas. The day she boarded the plane, she sent me a message. If fate allows, we'll meet again. I replied. If fate doesn't, then we won't ever meet again. As for Makoto, after I returned to City B, I no longer paid attention to what he was up to. Thinking about it, after Anna and I got together, he almost stopped talking to me, but he also didn't bother us. I guess he really did like Anna back then. Liking someone isn't a crime, and I had no reason to hold anything against him. After I graduated from University B, I was recommended for postgraduate studies. On the day of graduation, I received a message from Makoto. He wrote, "George, we were roommates for only 1 year, but still, congratulations on graduating. Wishing you a smooth future ahead." I knew then that he had let it go. I smiled and replied, "Wishing you a bright future as well." I put away my phone and looked into the distance. Anna was standing there, waving at me. Suddenly, a sentence came to mind. Look forward, the right person will always be in your future.